And welcome to another exciting video. In this one, we'll be looking at how we can make use of JSX effectively with React. Now, JSX is not an entirely different language, but it is a bit of an extension to the language. So knowing how you would express certain JavaScript things within the JSX syntax is important to using JSX effectively. Now, in this one, we'll be exploring a few different things you can do with JSX like interpolation, composition, and spreading props. And we'll compare these syntaxes with what is generated by Babel, so we have a good understanding of how this translates to regular JavaScript calls into React.createElement. To begin with, here we have the hello world example from the previous lecture. Now, if I want this to be a variable, I can easily do that by cutting it from this place and creating, let's say, a variable. So we say const, and then we'll keep it as children, and here we'll mention the world, hello world, and then we'll take this variable, and over here, instead of this placeholder, I'll be making use of curly brackets, and within that, I'll be providing this children. Now what will happen is that it will be evaluated, and whatever value this is containing will be displayed over here. So if I reload this page, you see that the output is still hello world. And if I go ahead and update this a bit, just to give you an idea that that is what exactly is appearing over here. So you see that the value is coming up. Similarly, for this class container, we can have a class name variable. So I can say const and then class name, and over here we'll have the same value container. Now over here I can go ahead and use this class name by making use of the curly bracket and then providing the class name over here. Now if I go ahead and check this out in the developer console, you'll notice that that is what it is rendering over here, class as container hello world. And if you see the head section of this, the rendered version is shown over here. So we have children, class name, and then we have the element being created using the create element div tag, and then we have the class name as class name, and then over here we are passing the children as a third parameter. Now a tricky thing is, if you're passing children in this form, like within opening and closing of the div tag, then it's shown as a third parameter. But if I take this from this place and I provide it as children over here and then save this, you see the output still remains the same. Spelling mistake over here. So let's go ahead and correct that. You see the output still remains the same, but if you see the generated code over here in the script tag, now children is being passed as a shortcut. So it's not passed as a third parameter, but as the shortcut version that we explored earlier. So still it's making use of React.createElement, then class name and children attribute. Now what you can do further is you can create a property, that is an object over here. So to create an object, all you need to do is, let's go ahead and name it as props. So here we'll say props, and then these two variables that we have defined, we'll take these two over here as children and then class name. Now once I do that, I can go ahead and make use of the spread operator. Now the spread operator can be provided over here, again in the curly bracket. So here I'll say props, and now this is going to again generate the same output for me, hello world. And here you can see the rendered or compiled version as well. So props, children, and class name is provided. And down below, if you explore the HTML portion, it is still giving you the same class container hello world. Now with JSX, you have the flexibility of having these div tags as self-closing divs. So I can go ahead and close it like this as well. And there you go. Other than this, you can also define additional attributes to this as well, like id is equal to app root. So for this particular div, I now have the id attribute along with these properties that I have defined. And here you can see that id is coming up, and then class, and then the hello world text. Within head, if I go ahead and explore this, you'll see that we have now an extends method, which is kind of assigning this ID attribute. And finally, over here, you see element as react.createElement, and then we have the ID, and over here, the props. Now, one interesting thing is that you can override these property values by specifying that specific property after the props. So here I can go ahead and say class name is equal to NC container. So that's another class that I'm trying to provide for this class name attribute. So if I save this now, and over here you can see the class name variable was container, and here we are passing these class names, but down below when the React element is being created, it is having the ID, props, and then this class name specifically as NC container because it's being overwritten. So if you see the output in the body tag here within the root, you see the class now is NC container, not container that was actually provided. So it's kind of overriding that particular property. So to review, what we have learned here is that you can interpolate values with these curly braces by putting any expression between the curly braces and have that expression passed along to the React.createElement API. We've also learned that you can spread properties or props in the props position of a JSX element, and those props will be combined with the other props that are provided to that element in a declarative and deterministic way.